Well, I fit in at the new environment quickly. However, sometimes when an American joke popped up during a lecture and the whole class burst into laughter except me, it was a bit awkward. But I would still laugh with them though I didn't quite get it. However, it was a bit frustrated then. Find myself being a culturally outsider during this kind of interactive process between students and professors.
Jane came to the United States as an 18-year-old freshman of the Iowa State University in 2010. She is now a graduate at Columbia, and it has been 5 years since she first came to this country. Jane is not alone, though. Her endeavor to navigate through a different culture is increasingly shared by a large number of Chinese students who ventured to American schools over the past several years.
From Chinese or Asian students' perspective, some of them are really proactive. You try to make friends with American, hang out with local students, but also there's a group of Asian students. They just try to be within their own circle, and they don't have that exposure.
In 2014 and 15 academic year, over 304,000 Chinese students were studying in U.S. colleges and universities, accounting for about 1/3 of all international students there.
Students from mainland started to come here since the 1970s, right? Late 70s and 80s. So now what happened is China becomes much more wealthy, well off, and many families are able to send their kids to come to the United States on their own.
So I think every university nowadays in the United States is really having a push for global education. This idea of the United States and the way we educate Americans cannot be isolated within just our country's borders. So the idea of having international students come into U.S. universities is, I think, really the new goal of U.S. education as incorporating a global perspective. And so Chinese international students, as the largest group of international students in the United States, really help contribute to this.
While American colleges go to great lengths to recruit Chinese students, not all of them can get fully integrated into their new environment.
They are really open and friendly, but to be honest, I think I hang out more with international students. I think one reason is I am international student, so I find more common points with another Indian student. So also we don't have family here. We all lived alone, so we have the similar schedules. But for American students, it's more maybe talk about sports or drinking, or it's kind of another fixed and a strange culture to me. Sometimes I just don't want to take the energy to learn and get into this environment.
A recent study found nearly 40% of international students reported having no close American friends. Students from China and elsewhere in East Asia say their endeavor to fit in at school is more or less a struggle.
So we're not talking about a small thing. We're talking about generally a society is not very receptive to minorities.
In my program, actually almost all of the Chinese international students, they will identify me as a Chinese American professor, as someone who they can talk to. I also speak Mandarin. And one of the first questions they rarely will have questions at first about the actual academic part of it. Yeah. Mainly it's just, how do I make American friends?
You come to the United States, if you want to be part of, you have to make the effort. Now sometimes foreign students decide that's too difficult, their language is not good enough, and there are a lot of Chinese students, then they become a small circle.
Take a stroll on the campus on any given day. One can easily sense the nuanced boundaries. Most students are seen hanging out with students of their same race.
I would say that in terms of social skills, the Chinese students that I have class with tend to socialize with other Chinese students, and not necessarily non-Chinese students that they have class.
To most Chinese students, for all their efforts to mingle with local Americans and for all the positive ratings they have from their schoolmates, it is hard to cross the invisible line.
I think oftentimes, even in a place like NYU, which is incredibly diverse, right? And I think NYU is much better at kind of facilitating these international friendships, people will stick to what they know, right? So if you have a bunch of American students, a bunch of American white students, they may not have any, it's not that they don't want to make friends with Chinese international students, but I think there's a decision of, okay, your English sounds different from mine. If I make pop culture references, you may not know, right? We may not watch the same TV shows. We may not even eat the same food, right? So to make friends across those borders or across those boundaries, it takes effort.
We can feel some changes now. American colleges are making more efforts to embrace international students. Students, on the other hand, are trying their best to seize the opportunity to get to know each other.
For example, we have different societies. Like I am on board of Asian Business Society, and each year we have like a culture track to Asia, and lots of American students subscribe for our track. So they are eager to know the Asian culture, especially by means of this kind of culture tracks.
我们会一起出去吃火锅呀。
We would go to have hot pot, go to bars. Just a few days ago, we went to Fifth Avenue to see the holiday windows, and they would tell us some Christmas traditions of the United States.
That we need to be better, that we cannot invite so many international students and then also not be trained or not have conversations about what does it look like when so many of your classmates are not from your context, right? Not from your country. But we can't just assume that because we are, right, that all of the relationships will happen.